Welcome to Beyond the Game, where we dive deep into cutting-edge technology and groundbreaking science transforming the world of sports. From the data-driven strategies shaping teams to the innovative gear enhancing performance, we uncover the secrets behind the game. I am Dearest Tumba. Join us as we explore the fascinating intersections of sports and innovation. This is where passion meets precision and the future of sports is uncovered. And of course, I won't be doing the show alone. I have a special guest, but I will introduce him after this break. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're right on track. This is Beyond the Game on Idea Television. And on today's edition, we'll be talking about the video assistant referee. Yes, the VAR. And of course, the news emanating, Rwanda installs VAR at Amahoro Stadium for Super Eagles game ahead of the resumption of the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. The Rwanda Football Federation has set up a video assistant referee system at Amahoro Stadium. Rwanda is set to host Nigeria's Super Eagle at the stadium in the next qualifying round. The Amavubi are currently leading in their qualifying group, and a win over the three-time African champions will significantly enhance their chances of reaching the World Cup. Yes, I said it before, I am not alone in the studio. I have an amazing gentleman. He is a sports analyst, and he's none other than Cyprian Akonwaye. Good afternoon, CY.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You look dapper as always.
Thank you. You too.
Always an amazing thing to have you on the show with me.
Always a pleasure.
And of course, Happy New Year. I don't think I've seen you this year, so Happy New Year and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Same to you.
Now, let's talk about the video assistant referee that will be installed in the Rwandan stadium between the Nigerian Super Eagles and Rwanda. I don't know. What do I say?
It's actually a good one, okay? It's a good one for football, okay? Because that simply means there will be a higher chance of justice, okay, to play out in that game. All right, so we don't know the full story, okay? But then, from what we are hearing, that has been installed for that World Cup qualifier, I think that's good news for Nigerians.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good news for Nigerians because it means that there will be no level of home advantage. Okay, there's any error, it will be checked.
Okay.
Okay, and it will be fixed. So I think that's good news for Nigerians. So we should be happy.
What about Rwandans?
They should be scared. They should be angry.
I mean,
they should be angry.
I mean, the thing is, it's not even about VAR, technology or not. When you're playing the Spy Eagles of Nigeria, you should be scared.
Yeah.
We are the Giants.
They should be scared.
Right?
They should be scared. They should be scared.
But then I want to believe
yeah.
putting those technology to checkmate the game is a step in the right direction, not just for the Nigerian game, but for the African football at large. Because we've been a little bit aback when it comes to technological advancements, and the fact that there's like, you know, this genuineness to want to improve. Because over time, watching African sport is a lot. It's a lot. You know, it takes me back to the AFCON. The AFCON in Cameroon. That was 2021,
Yeah, 2021.
where the referee stopped a game in the 89th minute. That was so embarrassing, not just for
Disaster.
it was so embarrassing, not just for African football, for even FIFA, because CAF is under FIFA,
Yeah.
and it's really a disaster. And the question is it that these referees are not trained, or was he just tired? He just wanted to go home and rest.
It's more complicated. It's more complicated. It's more complicated. It's not something we'll say on air.
Yeah.
It's not something we'll say on air. But then, in the installation of VAR, it's a good one. Okay. I think the standard of VAR usage in Africa, okay, it's AFCON 2023. Okay, it was VAR at its best.
True.
Okay, even top European coaches like Jose Mourinho, okay, even came out during the AFCON to say that Europeans should come to Africa and be trained on how to use the video assistant referee, okay, which is a very, very huge compliment from a controversial person like Mourinho.
We all know Jose Mourinho.
Yes, we all know what Mourinho brings to the table. So for Mourinho to come out and say that this is how VAR should be used, it's a very big plus, okay, to African football and CAF. And CAF should be given the plaudits for that. They really did a very, very good job. They did an amazing job with training these guys, okay, or sending these guys on a course, whatever they did. I don't know whatever they did behind the scene, but whatever they did, it worked during the AFCON because we saw VAR being used very, very effectively, okay. There was no, the time between checks was not that much compared to the Premier League, La Liga, and others. It was very, very minimal. They tried as much as possible to reduce the amount of time for checking, okay? And in 99.9% of those times, they got the calls right, okay? Sure. So Rwanda are installing VAR in their stadium. that one is their own wahala.
I mean, like we said,
that one is their own wahala.
with or without the technology, we're going to beat them anytime, any day. Not that I'm trying to brag, because I mean, obviously, I'm a super ego person. But anyways, so while still talking about the video assistant referee, now for those who don't know, VAR is the video assistant referee. It was introduced to minimize human errors that could affect the outcome of matches. Now, VAR operates with the support of a team of video officials and advanced replay systems. Now, VAR, technology introduced into the sport, but it is being handled by humans. Now, I'm sure FIFA had the cry of so many people, so many clubs, so many nations, so many football supporters, fans, even football stars that has been clamoring for a technology that can help curb partiality,
yeah, I think.
right, or wrong officiating from referees. And now it dates back to many years ago. And the most notable wrong officiating I've ever seen in my life was one I heard of. I wasn't born at the time.
Most painful.
The most painful of all has to be the famous hand of God. Now, I grew up watching football with my father. And I remember he would talk about Diego Maradona. And Diego Maradona is one player that would do anything to win a game. God rest his soul. But he was an amazing player. During his time, he did a lot. And he helped Argentina win the World Cup in 1986. But it came with controversy.
He helped Argentina steal the World Cup.
Okay, you want to call it steal?
Yes, because that was daylight robbery. That was daylight robbery.
If you are an Argentina person, if you're from Argentina, right, you will see it as like
blessing.
It's a blessing.
That's
but then if you're from England,
that's robbery.
if you're an Englishman or woman, you will say it's a robbery.
And
so
if you're a neutral, It's robbery.
It's still robbery.
Yeah,
Anyways, yeah, agree to
so
disagree.
it's two verse one.
But then, but then, if understanding who Maradona is, you know he's a kind of player that will win at all costs, and he was too passionate. But then, what he did, scoring a goal with his hand, cost England the game. Now, who do we blame for situations like that? Obviously, the linesman, the referee, they made wrong call. Now, if there was a technology that could detect that at the time, just maybe Argentina wouldn't have won the World Cup. But there wasn't. Now, FIFA has had a cry and they've introduced the VAR. Would you say genuinely that VAR has helped football?
Yeah, VAR. If you look at it, if you take it into context,
Yeah.
okay. Now, not just the Maradona incident, okay. The qualifiers for 2010 World Cup. I remember a game, the final playoff game between France and Sweden. I think so. Okay, Thierry Henry used his hand, the same hand of God, to score a goal, and that was the winning goal that knocked Sweden out.
Yeah.
Okay, and France eventually qualified to the World Cup. Okay, now in the World Cup itself, we saw an incident where the game between Germany and England, where Frank Lampard's penalty hit the woodwork, okay, and then went into the net, like clearly went into the net, and then bounced out. Okay, it was given as no goal. Okay, now coming back to Nigeria again, in the 2000 Nations Cup final between Nigeria and Cameroon, okay, Kanwanko scored the same type of goal, okay, penalty, hit, in and out. It was cancelled, okay. Now, I think from that point, Lionel Messi also scored the hand of God.
I think this hand of God is coming in pattern.
He also did it. He also did it. He also did it with his
Yeah.
hand. It was given as a goal. Okay, so many unjustifiable calls,
Yeah.
and a lot of teams have suffered from this kind of controversial, very wrong calls by officials. I think because that thing happened to England, that was why pressure started mounting on FIFA, because you know the English people have they are very, 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 very proud people, and they have this prestige in FIFA. Okay, so and then they are giving that respect because of where the game originated from. Okay, so because of that, there was a cry for technology. Okay,
True. Yeah.
now the VAR was not the first one. Okay, there were others, but VAR was most acceptable. Okay, and then when they started using it, initially it was catastrophic. It was catastrophic because these referees will have to use like 3-4 minutes to check one call,
Slowing down the beautiful game.
like, and
We
you know,
love to watch.
and you know that takes the tempo out of the game.
True.
Players become weak. They have to restart after like 5 minutes
True.
of a pause, and you know that will stop the flow of the game.
And the momentum.
Now, bringing it back to 2018 World Cup, it was effectively used in Russia, okay? And then 2022 World Cup, we saw it also being used controversially, okay? Controversially because of, there are lots of controversial, a lot of people will not agree with me, but Argentina, okay? Lots of their penalties, a lot of people see them as partially, partial stuff.
Are you a Ronaldo fan?
I'm not a Ronaldo fan. I'm not a Messi fan. But the truth has to be told.
Oh, obviously.
Okay, so
obviously.
there are lots of very controversial stuffs. But then, if you look at it holistically, okay, your question was if VAR was a good thing or a bad thing. Now, the video assistant referee, okay, generally, if you look at it from a neutral point of view,
Yeah.
it's a very, very good thing for football, okay, because it has helped a lot of injustice, okay? It has taken out a lot of injustice in the game, okay? Even though we still see a lot of wrongdoings, okay?
Sure.
But then it would have been worse. It could have been worse, okay? It has reduced it to a large extent. So that's a good thing for me. That's a very good thing. Now, yeah, that's a very good thing for us. Mm-hmm.
But then I feel like for every technology introduced into the sport, in the world of sport, it comes with its own pitfalls. And VAR
Yeah.
has had its bad days.
Yeah, very bad days. Very
and
bad
it's good days.
Very bad days.
But they're mostly bad days because as a sports fan watching from home, you have, you always have it, like you have this this nudge in your heart that they robbed my team, right? Especially if the core is against your
against you.
team. But then if it's for your team, you'll be like, yes, VAR is working. VAR is perfect. But then we've seen different occasions where VAR failed. And in my opinion, I feel like it failed because it is still being handled by humans. What do you have to say?
Why you're actually correct. I won't say you were wrong, okay? Because we have seen very, very wrong calls being given, okay? Even, let's bring it down to recent events, okay? The match between Manchester United and Fulham just yesterday,
Yeah.
okay? Now, there was a very, very controversial call. It didn't go a long way to affect the game because United were already winning, okay?
But it was 1-0.
But it was 1-0.
You know what?
Anything could have still
Thank
happened.
you.
Can you so the goal Ahmad scored was actually a goal. But if the lines drawn by the video assistant referees, okay, I don't know if they were in a haste to give that decision. Now, after the game, images started coming out, okay, and we saw that it wasn't actually offside. Ahmad was onside, okay. It was a very, very tight call, but the referee gave it against United, okay. So La
Anthony
Liga,
Taylor was the referee on that
yeah,
day.
he was, he
Yeah,
was,
it
he
has
was.
to be.
Okay, La Liga, the same thing. Okay, if you trace Serie A, the same thing. Okay, Germany, the same. The Bundesliga, the same thing. Europe, the same thing. Okay, so VAR, he's doing a very good job. But then, okay, you can't take out the human factor because these
True.
machines cannot operate themselves. Okay, they can't. They can't. As precise as they may be, they
Yeah.
still have to be. Those lines still have to be drawn by humans. Okay. They are currently working on other technologies, okay, like the semi-automated. That's a topic for another day, okay? But VAR right now, for as far as VAR is concerned, humans still have to draw those lines. Humans still have to draw those lines, okay? Which we have seen many cases, many cases where those lines have been drawn wrongly. The lines will be bending towards one side instead of being straight.
Sometimes it's even because a player is quite tall,
Yeah,
and
so
your
we have
height might
seen-
be like a
yes, so we have
disadvantage. Like a
seen-
player like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, it might work against him because he's quite tall.
So we have seen a lot of errors, okay, from the officials, okay. So as much as VAR is precise, the people operating it, we can't say the same about them, okay. We
True.
can't say the same about them because they are humans, and as humans, we all know that errors are bound to happen, okay. So it's a matter of, is the error happening more than the correct thing? So, but in this case, I think it's not. Okay, I think it's not. So we need to give kudos to the referees.
True.
Okay, but at the same time, when they don't do the right thing, we know that they are in charge of these games, and one wrong call from a referee can affect the entire outcome of that game.
And it can hurt an entire nation.
It can affect the entire outcome of. It can affect 22 people on the pitch. It can affect the entire bench. It can affect the entire 80,000 people in the
And
stadium.
it can also affect the entire
The
world.
entire so that's one man. Can you see that? That's why I feel that video assistant referee was introduced in the first place, because before that, the invention of VAR, this pressure was solely on the two linesmen and the center referee.
Yes.
Okay, so this technology was put in place so that some of that pressure will be reduced. At least you can have the benefit of a replay to check and see if it was actually the right call or not. But then we still see these mistakes. Okay, but to a large extent, it has really helped. Okay, we have statistics proving that also, not just saying. Okay, FIFA has come out to say after a survey that the precision or the accuracy of VAR is 99.3%.
Okay.
Okay, which is quite understandable because their criteria for that judgment is the FIFA World Cup and all FIFA tournaments. Okay, now the Premier League also recently came out to say that VAR, okay, has the accuracy of VAR has increased from 82% when there were no VAR, okay, to 96%. That's a 14% increment, okay, in the accuracy, meaning that 14% of wrong calls has been averted. Okay, so it's a good thing. It's currently on 96%. It's not the best, But then it has gone a long way to reduce the amount of cry we're supposed to be crying, because we have seen so many instances. As a Man United fan, there was a match against Chelsea,
All right.
okay, during when Alex Ferguson was still in charge, okay. To be honest with you, there was a penalty that was given to United against Chelsea that wasn't a penalty.
Coming from a United fan.
Yes,
Oh,
we
wow.
have to be very, very truthful.
right.
Okay. Now, these calls, we have seen so many of them, so many.
So before you go, was it Howard Webb? Was it the referee?
I can't recall
It
who
has
the ref
to be
was.
him.
I can't
I
recall
mean-
who the ref was. But then I watch a lot of olden days games. As a matter of fact, I derive a lot of joy watching games of the past than current games.
Likewise.
And you will just be laughing. You will just be laughing because you will see a lot of errors.
Errors.
A lot of errors. Like so many very, very obvious errors.
Talk about Chelsea Barcelona in 2008? 2008?
No, 2008, yes.
2008.
Yes.
That
2008.
Champions League game.
It was bad. It was really
It was
bad.
horrible.
No, 2009. 2009.
It was really horrible.
Bad. Ah, yeah.
Everything was, at some point I would look at Drogba's face. I would look at Maluda, Anelka, and I'm like, these people, don't you know how to use your hands?
It was disastrous.
Someone please,
It was really disastrous.
that referee should be sacked
He was actually.
because
He was.
it was so obvious. There's nothing that was so obvious to the face. Even the common man will know that this is wrong. Why?
I think the ref lost it.
He obviously lost it.
He lost. There was a call actually that I think that was what triggered the entire thing.
True.
The red card that was given to Barcelona, Eric Abidal, wasn't a red card.
Okay.
Anelka tripped, okay, and fell, okay. Abidal was the last man, and he was wrongfully sent off, okay. And that was where the ripple effect started from. From that error, it was error upon error upon error upon error. I think he was trying to rectify. I don't know. Somehow the ref just lost it in that game. So I think that was the beginning of the whole thing. Okay, look at clear goals, clear penalty calls. Like the ref messed up. The ref
I mean,
didn't
and
know
of
that
course,
at all.
Chelsea went on to lose that.
And Chelsea were knocked out of the competition.
Obviously.
Okay, so,
And Barca went on to win
so
it.
and if you look at that game,
Yeah.
if there was VAR, to be honest with you, okay, 99% of those wrong calls would have been averted.
True.
Yes, but there was no VAR. So if you look at this, VAR is actually doing a good job. As controversial as it may be, it's still doing a good job.
All right.
Mm.
Now, VAR is used to review specific incidents. Now, while it is being used to review those incidents, we've seen VAR also slow the pace of the game. And it's annoying. I don't know, there was this Champions League game, but I'm trying to remember what club it was. But then I remember watching it. And the VAR kept, they kept watching and checking, and it was already 5 minutes, 6 minutes. It went up to 10 minutes. And I'm like, hello, there's still a game going on. How many minutes will you give?
It's really affecting.
It's slowing down the pace. And when you slow down the pace of a game that is, the ginger, let me use the
That
word,
flow.
the flow that comes with watching a game. And everybody's just anticipating, everybody's anxious, everybody's just like, shouting, and you now slow it down. It just kills the morale. And not just for the fans, but especially for the players. Because you don't see them, they're just reluctant. The pace Neymar has reduced. The speed Mbappe has reduced. And everybody's just, what's happening? Can we continue? And when they continue, sometimes you realize that the team that had the
momentum,
that had the game, and you could just say, oh, this Chelsea's winning this game. It
They'll
drops.
lose
They lose it. And, at that time, coaches can also signal their players, like, you do this differently. And it can just change the course of the game. And as much as one want to argue that, yeah, VR is used for a specific reason and whatnot, it also slows the pace of the game. So how do we fix that?
I think recently, okay, they have started a campaign, okay, to reduce the amount of time used for checking. See, 31 seconds maximum. 31 seconds, 1 minute maximum, 1 minute. Okay, in the case of where the ref has to run down to the screen to go and see, I think that's the only case where it has to be longer, because the time it will take the ref to move from that point to where the screen is, check and recheck and recheck and recheck and be sure, and then decide what to do in that case. I think that's one of the reasons why in the past, when it started initially, it was really, really disastrous. This 1 minute that we are complaining of it was worse. 5 minutes. Everybody would just be, some people will be even sitting down.
Some people get tired.
Recently, there's a video where Kopama was even sitting down. He was sitting down on the ball.
And I'm sure he will be thinking about his chippy chips.
Why VR was checking? Because it takes the steam out of the game. Okay, the flow is interrupted.
True.
And sometimes to pick up again becomes a problem.
True.
So the momentum shifts. So VAR is good, but then it can be improved. It can be
Definitely.
improved. It can be improved. So, and then we see instances where, because of how long it takes to check all these calls, they end up adding 10 minutes at the end of the game, which is extra work for these players. You see now? So these players are already working extra. You see games now, these days, you see games running into 102 minutes, 103
And you think it's
minutes.
like an extra, the extra that comes with the extra time?
Well, as long as those players are still on the pitch, it's extra pressure on them, okay?
True.
Which may have a toll on their career because they are working extra. And with the new calendar, extra. You may end up seeing people's career ending at the age of 28.
I mean, Rodri is injured.
Yes. You may end up seeing people's career ending at the age of 28. We may not see a person like Ronaldo again that will get to 40. Or that Japanese man that is currently on 58 years, that is currently 58 years old and is still playing. So we may not see careers like that if this continues, because we are working like taking a whole lot out of these players, okay? And it's game after game, we keep seeing this. These days, there's hardly a game you see 3 minutes added, but that was the standard before. That was the standard
Or
before.
5 minutes.
Or
Sometimes 6 minutes.
As a matter of fact,
what
5 minutes.
went down during the game.
5 minutes was even very controversial those days. But now, the minimum you see after every game is 6. Minimum, meaning it could be 10, could be 11. Okay, depending on how much time VAR takes out of that game. So I think it can be improved on. It's not where it wants it to be right now. If there is a better technology, fine.
I also have a question. Now, the conversation that goes on between the referee, that's the on-pitch referee, and the video assistant referees, don't you think they should allow us to listen to those conversations?
Yes, the Premier League, they currently, I think for 4-5 years, the Premier League has frowned against that. Okay, but they have faced pressure, serious pressure from the fans. They want to know what these conversations are. Okay, and they have even come out to establish, to start a show, Referee Watch, okay, where they play, especially on controversial calls, okay, they get the recording of that conversation, they play it, and then listen to it to know if these refs, okay, were deliberate about this error, or it was a miscommunication, or maybe the ref just made an innocent mistake. Okay, so they check all these things even before punishing these refs. So they check all these things. So I don't know. Recently, okay, I know I've listened to one particular incident, okay, between the ref and the VAR team, okay, and the conversation that transpired within that period. So I think if they make it more transparent, it will be fine. But I don't think it will change anything, because the decision has already been made on the pitch.
And I feel like in the end, the referee, the on-field referee, has the final say.
Still has the final say.
And no matter how you want to stretch it, or like everybody has something to say,
yes,
he decides.
He decides. You can only now, the job of the VAR is to advise the on-field ref. The VAR cannot overturn a call. They can't. Okay? It's still up to the on-field ref to undo what he has done. Okay, so the VAR team, the job of the VAR is to advise the on-field ref, okay, when there is a clear and obvious error. Okay, that word is very important, clear and obvious error.
Yeah.
So the VAR team is just to advise the on-field ref. So the on-field ref has the decision to make. They will tell him, could it be deliberate? Did he do it deliberately? Was it an error? Did he slip? Did he do this? So it's still now up to the on-field ref. That's why when it's so tight, they'll advise him to go to the screen and check for himself, to go and see it. Okay? And that's where he runs over to the screen, checks and double checks, and tells them to rewind, let him see it again, and then makes up his mind. So they only advise. They can't overturn
Do you
whatever
know
he has
the
done.
only time I feel like VAR put a smile on my face was the game between Manchester United and Chelsea
Yeah, when it
at
favors you.
Stamford
When it
Bridge
favors you.
last season.
When it
It was
favors
so I was so proud of it. I feel like for the first time in their life they got it right.
you.
Anyways, I wanted to also ask. So there was an incident.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a couple of seasons back. But Manchester United was the team, but I don't know who they were playing against. They, it happened that the game had ended. They were already going out,
I
right?
remember that.
For halftime, and they're calling them
It
back.
wasn't half time. It was full time.
Oh, it was already full time,
time.
yeah. And they had to come back.
Yes. It
Well, we
was-
don't see that often, but I remember that particular game because I watched it.
It was that was the first season VAR was used
Yes,
in
that
the
was.
Premier League.
Yes,
it
that
was
was.
during lockdown season.
True.
So it was a match between Brighton and Manchester United. I think that was the same Brighton was promoted to the Premier League, and that game was on a tie. That was the last act of that game.
True.
And Harry Maguire headed the ball, and it hit the arm of I think Louis Dunk also. Okay. The ref just ended the game. The ref ended the game actually. Okay, the ref ended the game, but then, what the ref said was that decision was made while the game was still on.
Okay.
Okay, and the decision to reverse it happened just few minutes. It wasn't up to a minute. To be honest, it wasn't up to a minute. It wasn't up to a minute. The ref made the mistake. It was a handball. It was a handball. Truth be told, it was a handball, okay? But now the problem was, or the controversy was that the ref should the ref have allowed the game flow before blowing the whistle? Because immediately after that action, the ref blew the whistle. So the VAR team had to call him back and said, no, just before that last action, there was a handball there. So the ref it was very controversial, to be honest with you. I actually felt embarrassed because it was Manchester United that was involved. Okay, I felt embarrassed because I see what do people say now that they are favoring Manchester United.
People say whatever they want to say.
But that was actually the right call. That was the right call, because that incident happened during the game. Okay, it wasn't only in the Premier League. It happened in the Bundesliga also. Theirs was during halftime. As a matter of fact, theirs was even more controversial because they went into the tunnel. They had to call them back. Okay, and award the penalty. The penalty was played, and then they went back to the dressing room.
And funny thing, I don't think those incidents happen on a regular because after that
there are
time,
rare cases, yes.
I don't think I've had,
yes,
because there are times where Chelsea will be struggling, and I'll be like, or other teams, very close to my heart, and I'm like, would they call them back after? But no, of course. Now, when the video assistant referee fails to deliver, who sanctions them? We go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll be ending the show with sanctions. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it is still Beyond the Game, and we've been talking about the video assistant referee. Now, why technology has helped improve the game with the introduction of VAR. VAR has also failed to deliver, especially when it matters the most. Now, when VAR fails to deliver, who sanctions them?
The PGMOL.
Okay.
I think not really PGMOL, but there's Howard Webb is currently the chairman.
Howard Webb?
Yes, he is. He's currently
Okay.
the chairman of that body, the
All right.
Referees Association body. They sanctioned these refs.
Okay.
We have seen many cases where, including Anthony Taylor has been relegated to the championship many times. Okay, now that is their own way of punishing that official. Okay, he's not the only one. Other referees have been sanctioned, and the entire VAR team, because it's not just one person. Okay, the entire VAR team, they are made up of about 5 different referees.
Okay.
Okay, so the whole of them gets sanctioned because you have more than one screen to look at it. Okay, it's a room. Okay, with different screens, so that different people can look at it from different perspectives.
All right.
And then come up with the best decision. So if there's a wrong call, okay, the entire team gets punished.
All right.
The entire team gets punished.
I think that's fair enough. Well, before we end the show, any final words?
Final
You,
words.
CY?
And if there's anyone that is better than VAR, they should bring it quick so we can move on.
I'm sure FIFA has heard that. Anyways, thank you so much, Siwa.
You're welcome.
Now, while it has improved the accuracy of decision making, it remains a topic of controversy among fans and analysts due to its impact on the flow of the game. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms at Idea Television. I am Dearest Timba. Bye for now.